Hello friends, happy Monday, welcome back. Today we are going to be taking this hair to this hair, doing a beautiful pink and purple ombre, leaving that natural on the scalp, so gorgeous. So here is our before once again, so cute. And so she did box color in her year 3 years ago in 2022. And you can kind of see that other color through the ends. So I'm going through with my K18 chelator spray. This is going to help remove any kind of like mineral and metal buildup that's in the hair before I come through with lightener. Anytime I'm working with previous box color, I always am going to start with that chelator. I feel like it really helps work through all of that while keeping the hair nice and healthy. So I'm just kind of brushing that in, and then we wait 4 minutes. And I also went in with the K18 mist afterwards. So I think I forgot to film that part, but also sprayed with the mist after the chelator. And now I'm going to go in and take these teases. So you can see how I start real low on that tease, and you kind of want to work that same little bunch up, just kind of with a couple more little pushes. And now I'm not going all the way up because she wants an ombre. So I'm just going to go through and kind of hit up to exactly where I think she wants it based off of the inspiration photos. And then after I paint that first one, I like to kind of bring it around and show her like, hey, is this about how long you like? Right here. So I'm showing her and she's like, yep, that's perfect. That's about how far she wants it off the root. So the reason I'm doing those teases is because it's going to help it blend really nicely. Because when you're doing an ombre, I don't care how much feathering you do, how like small your sections are, there's going to be a harsh line and that, line of separation where your hair is dark and then it's light. And so when you do these teases and you take those longer hairs out of it, it really makes it blend just perfectly when you put it down. So I'm getting my coup board here, kind of measuring where I want it. And obviously with each section, I'm going to go up just a little bit higher because we want it to be in a gradient pattern. I don't want it to just be that line right there all around the head. I'm going to take each section a little bit higher with my lightener, which makes it the same distance from the scalp all the way around. So it works out perfectly. And you can also see that I am pulling that section to the right. I don't want to paint directly behind her. I want to be a little to the side. And then as I move up the head, I kind of just go like around to the front almost. But that's going to really give us that diagonal pattern going back. So it's like, a little bit higher in the front and it goes down in that really pretty diagonal gradient. So that's what we're going for. But you can see how fine those sections are. I am not taking super thick sections. I would say they're each about a 1/2 inch thick. And then with the tease, it's going to be so small. So you can see here, I thought that was a little too thick. So I put some away because if you get too thick of a section, one, you're going to risk not having even saturation, and it's going to lift a lot faster and better if you're taking small ones. And two, it's going to be blotchy. You're going to see that harsh line. You're not going to have as nice of a blend. If you see how thin that section is, they are so baby fine. That's how we're going to get that really, really nice blend. I mean, some people may want that harsh line where it separates because, there are really cool artsy, hair colors that you can do like that. But this is not an artsy block color. She wants a really smooth where you can't even tell. It just goes brown to blonde, perfect gradient. That's what we want. But you can see here, I'll go a few inches above the very bottom where I hold the section tight. And then all those shorter hairs are getting pushed up. So it works out perfectly because then what you have in your hand is all of the longest and healthiest hair. And all of those shorter, newer hairs are all getting pushed up to the top. And we are just going to saturate, and paint all of this hair. And I always say, especially when you're taking big, long sections like this, where you're folding up those ends, you definitely want to saturate. Just when you think you've saturated enough, add some more. And then I'm doing that light feathering on the top so we get that really nice blend, and I'm closing it up. I don't like to fold foils when it's so long of a section because you always risk getting that line in your foil. So that's why I like to lay them flat. It also makes it really easy when it's time to start pulling them to just pick up the foil and, put it over the head. Works out great. But you can see all those baby hairs got teased up. And so, all of our hair falls out. We lose so many hairs throughout the day. And so they all fall out at different times. So all of those short hairs, they're not like damaged or anything. They are just newer hairs. So all of the ones that I'm holding are some of her oldest hairs, the longest ones, the most healthy. And so that is why we are painting them. And then also because everything at the bottom is going to be blonde. That is what we want. Getting all those baby hairs. I feel like her hair she was a fantastic candidate for Teasy lights just because of how like those little wavy short pieces went straight up into that weave. But you can see there how I'm like to the side of her versus being in back of her. I'm still working on the back of her head, but I am on her side. That's going to give us that diagonal. You can see I'm lifting each section just a little bit higher. And here we are at the front doing the same exact thing. And then I like to you can see how I pulled it to the back a little bit. That was to make sure that we are going to be on the same like length so that the blonde isn't going to be lower or higher in the front. And doing the exact same, taking slightly diagonal sections. Then I like to go to the back and check and make sure everything's good. Take the ends and test out the elasticity. And then I showed her. I was like, hey, it's doing great. Your hair feels amazing. Also, I am using Danger Jones Lightener. I have not said that yet, but as always, I absolutely love this lightener, and they just came out with a new cream lightener that is amazing for on scalp. Like so good. But I'm using the powder lightener for this, and I start with 5 volume because one, we already had previously colored ends, and her hair is pretty fine even though she has a lot of it. So I like to go low and slow. Most of the time, I'm starting with a 5 or a 10 volume developer. And when I am doing big, long foils like this, where I need heavy saturation, I like to mix my developer 1 to 2 parts. So I'm using 1 part powder lightener and 2 parts developer. One more trick I will share with the Danger Jones Lightener is I like to add my developer first. I learned this from another girl that works with Danger Jones, and I always get such incredible consistency when I do developer first. And I also don't like to mix too big of a bowl, so I'll usually do maybe 50 grams of developer, and then I'll do 25 grams of lightener. And so that's how big my bowls will be. But on these big long foils, I like to use 1 to 2 because it makes it a little easier to saturate the hair and work through it. And I feel like you use less product. Now, if I was doing highlights where I need that foil to like stick right onto the scalp and not budge, I don't want like a thinner consistency. I want that thicker consistency. So when I'm doing highlights on the scalp, that's when I'll use like the 1 to 1.5. So 1.5 parts developer, 1 part lightener. But we are almost through here. Just working our way. And then you can see that I like to follow it around. So I didn't finish the back. I like to kind of do everything at the same time. So if I'm going around the head in one section that's like a halo, then I can see exactly where each foil is laying, and I know that they're going to line up when I go around the head. But you can see I'm pulling that section super forward, and then I'm teasing, and see how it gives it that like V shape. So I have a shorter tease closer to her face, and then it's like a longer tease in the back, and that's going to give us that nice diagonal, perfect dimension. And I am just doing the same thing. You can see how I'm like pulling that coup board basically in front of her. Same thing, standing to the side, and then I'm teasing, getting that really nice V shape. So your tease should be like in a V. Now, if you wanted it to just be a circular halo around the head where it's the same length as the front and in the back, I guess you don't have to do it this way, but I like it to look this way because it's going to match perfectly with her face framed layers and her haircut, and it's just going to be that beautiful, you know, gradient U in the back. But side note, update, I know I had talked about getting a window suite. Oh, look at my cute little buns. Anyway, I had talked about getting a window suite on here, and I am officially done working in the suite that's in this video. Yesterday was my last shift, and now I am just going to be finishing building out my studio for the next 4 days. I am so excited. I cannot wait to show you guys. I'll have to post like a story and let you all see the new studio because, oh, it's going to be amazing. We've got so much natural light. A whole wall is a window and just plants galore. It's going to be amazing. And I went a little more muted on the teal paint. I didn't go for as vibrant this time, but I think you guys are going to love it. I'm so excited to show you the new space. It's in the same building. I just moved to a slightly larger window unit, and I'm so excited. After 2 years in this one, it's been amazing, but I can't wait to have natural light, you guys. Oh, it's going to be awesome. But we are almost done working through here. As you can tell, I did speed this video up just a little bit. I'm kind of trying that a little new because I knew this was going to be a longer video, and I know I don't have the patience to sit through like a 45-minute video, so I did speed myself up a bit. I do not work this fast. So I think I put it to like 1.5 or 2 times. I don't know. But now this is the important part. When we get to that top V section, I'm combining those 2 sections from the left and the right back, and I am just going straight down in a tease. Now we want this to be lower because we still want to have that U shape. And then we are just going to saturate, saturate, saturate. We don't want this as high as the ones next to it. We want it to be a little bit lower, and then feather up. Perfect. Really saturate. Like I said, when you think you're done, add more. Gorge. Same thing, taking a super thin horizontal section from that back V. I like to paint a little on my foil sometimes. It helps the hair just stick right to it. And then you can go. Feather up. Push that hair into it from the bottom. I could have also just used super long foils, but because her hair is so long, it just gets kind of like crazy to have that long of a foil hanging down and moving around. So I'd rather just fold up the hair and do this length, but I have obviously done giant long foils before. But we are just going to really saturate. And I always move up my developer as I make my way through the head. So I know I said I started with 5, and then on my next bowl, I used a 10. I went up to a 15, and then finally I ended on 20. I had to use 4 different bowls on her. It was a lot of hair, and we made it through. Also, making sure that feathering up is so important so you don't have any kind of blockiness. Now, you could leave that top V uncolored if you wanted to, because it looks really cool when the natural hair just shatters over it. But in this case, I wanted to lighten everything, so I did not leave her top V out to shatter over. But you can see, oh my gosh, she has so much hair. I'm so jealous. Even when I have 2 packs of extensions in, I don't have as much hair as her. But I know these teases are looking crazy, but I promise you they are going to be beautiful, and they came out so easy. Oh, and you can see all my Danger Jones and K18 products over there on the color bar. Oh, that's right. I went through 2 tubs of lightener. Well, not a full 2, but I went through like the last half of one and had to open another. So we used a lot of lightener on her. Yeah, not 2 tubs, but you can see there are 2 tubs on the table. That would be crazy. I think I have done that before though. Some people have a lot of hair. All right. And now I like to go to the back. I'm not quite done, but I know that some of these are done. So you can see I used my metal YS Park clip to hold the tease up. That is super important because if you start pulling foils, it's going to pull the tease out with it. So these clips are super hardcore. Like if I wanted to use one of my alligator clips, it would not hold the tease. These ones are clamped so tight. They are a very specific YS Park one with the little teeth on them, and they hold that tease. So I really recommend getting those, or if you have another clip that is as strong as those, I have never found one that is the strongest and best clip I've ever had, and they are expensive, but they are so worth it. I am also not sponsored by YS Park. I have never gotten anything for free from YS Park, but some of these clips, no joke, I've had for 10 years and they have been soaked in barbicide. I have never broken a YS Park clip. Like I lose them before I break them. So I've never seen one break. I have once broken a YS Park comb on super thick hair when I was combing through a section, but that is the only time I've ever seen one of those combs break. I was shocked. And yeah, these metal clips, I have it on the top there. I'll stick a little picture in after I finish recording this. So right now there should be a picture of the YS Park clip hovering over. So I'll add that in. But now I want to do a little bit under her fringe. So what I'm doing, because she has such a thick bang, I basically am slicing it in half and I put the top section of her fringe away, and then the bottom half, I'm going to lighten all of it to the root. So she's gonna have these little pops of color just kind of coming out the bottom of her fringe while it's still gonna be her natural on top. So she's not gonna need to come in to maintain it. It's just gonna probably grow out and get cut off before she even gets lightened again, because this is such an easy grow out color. So this one, I am just gonna take really, really fine sections. As you can see, left that top half of her fringe out, and I am just painting these. But this is the best way. If somebody is scared to do too much color to their fringe, I highly recommend just doing a little panel underneath the fringe. And if their bangs like aren't as thick as hers, you don't have to take a half of it or as big of a section as I did, but that is definitely the best way to add just a little pop in the fringe. But now I'm just kind of going through, and anything that I feel like needs a little more lightener, I'm just kind of hitting it, tapping it with a little more lightener, using my YS Park clip to hold the tease. I am not kidding. Like that is how I get teases out, is just if you start to pull the lightener off of it and you're using your blending gloves, you'll just pull that tease right out with it, which is great. That's what I like to do before I wash them, but I don't want the tease to come out right now because it's just too much lightener around the bottom and I don't want it to get lightener on it. But look at how beautifully we lifted out. It feels so healthy, so good. All of that old box color really lifted out, which I think is definitely due to the K18 chelator. I swear every time I use that, it's like I can work through box color so much easier. And now you can kind of see how I have that like gradient diagonal line because we did those teases like that there. But I'm just making my way through and feathering up, hitting anything that needed to get hit. And here is our finished ombre. I did not tone it. This is a raw lift. I literally had to slow this video down because it was so good. But no toner, no blending with like a shadow root, just perfect. So now I started recording and I thought I started recording and I didn't. So that was my bad. But I am going through with Danger Jones semi-permanent colors. And you can see I am just doing these little ribbons of purple and pink. So I am using Hustler and Cheap Date for my pink, and I am using Exotica with Masquerade for my purple. I don't want it to be like super vibrant. We want it to be like in between a pastel and a vivid. So I am doing larger chunks of purple and then smaller pieces of pink because purple is our main color. So basically what I was doing is every section that I would take, like this one, you can see, it's about a little less than an inch thick and about 3 inches wide. So I'm taking that 2-inch section and making it purple, and then that smaller 1 inch in the front is going to be pink. So anything that I'm coloring, it's going to be 2 times purple, 1 time pink. So on the one under it, the purple was in the front and the pink was in the back. So on the one that I just did, I did the pink in the front and the purple in the back. Now this one, I'm going to split in 3. I'm going to put the pink in the middle and then the purple in front of it and behind it. So this way she gets more purple, but we're still getting these beautiful pink ribbons. And I like my sections to be pretty thick, like I said, a little under an inch as I'm going around, because then we're really gonna see these ribbons of color. If you make your sections too thin, the colors will kind of just mesh into each other and you don't get that dimension. You have to think of it as like a traditional highlight versus a chunky highlight. We wanna take chunky pieces because we want to see dimension. So if you are just taking really fine, like 1/4 inch slices and painting them, it's really all just gonna mesh together and you're not even gonna be able to see the difference between pink and purple. So on the top half of the fringe, I'm painting purple because it's the color that will show above on the top. So you'll see the purple a little bit more. And then I'm going to paint the pink on the bottom part of her fringe. And I put a little foil there just because I'm not brushing that purple onto her natural. The semi-permanent color isn't going to affect it this much or that much, but it can make like a little bit of a weird stain. And I just wanted to avoid that because I kept her natural color. So let's not have like a weird semi-permanent like stain where it's a little darker on one part. That's why I'm using the foil. And just really saturating that purple. And then I'm gonna come in with my pink and paint those. So that will be on the bottom of her fringe. And they will both kind of peek out of her brown. And we are almost done. I also think I forgot to add that I did add B3 Brazilian Bond Builder into her color. That helps with strength and longevity. It is a bond builder, and I really think it helps with how long and how well the color stays in the hair. And the hair just feels so nice and conditioned afterwards. And here we are. So gorgeous. Now we just have to wait. She's checking it out. So exciting. Then I like to come in with my Killer Color wipes from Framar and wipe that off. And here she is. Oh, so gorgeous. Once again, I did not do any shadow rooting. That is all her natural. No color was used to blend that purple and pink in there. It's just perfect. So that is why I love teases. You can see the cute little purple and pink peeking out. Look at that before and after. I mean, come on. You cannot tell me she was not meant for pink and purple hair. So cute. But here is some more shots. I just had to take so many because it was so cute. Put the little butterfly clips in. And because somebody always says, what does it look like without the clips? Here is what it looks like without the clips. Perfectly blended. Oh, obsessed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Please like and subscribe. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.